Hello class, in this video I'll demonstrate how to use the free programs to create a frame-by-frame animation. So this video is for those students who did not purchase Adobe programs on their computer. Alright, so we'll use entirely free applications to create animation. So for video editing and animating, if you're using Mac OS system, we're going to use iMovie. And if you're using Windows, we're going to use Microsoft Photoshop. So these programs are alternatives for Adobe After Effects and Premiere, right? And for drawing and creating the layers, we're going to use a program called GIMP, which is a Photoshop alternatives. All right. So this is a GIMP first. So you're going to go to Tool menu, File, and New. Okay, and here you're going to create a new image. You're going to put the width and height as 1920 to 1080. So that's the 1080 HD setting, right? And here you can click on the advanced option, and you're going to choose resolution as 72, and you can press OK. And then here you can create the different layers. Let me show you. So I'll select here and create a different layer, new layer. And then you can click on OK. So basically you'll create a new layer, and you'll be able to select the brushes and draw, right? And for the brush, you can change the size of your brush and how hard you want it. And you can also click on here and choose a different brushes, right? Different type of brush with different textures. And you can also change the opacity of your brush, right? So this is a half transparent brush, right? And you can put 100. And you can also change the blending mode of your brush. So that's the same as a Photoshop. And for each of the layer you do, you can also change its opacity and also change the blending mode here. So that's pretty much the same. Alright, so now let me show you the structure of my project. So here I got the foreground layer. Okay, this is the folder. Basically I have the shadowing layer here, and I have the drawing in the bottom. And in the center I have Iren's drawing from the third week of assignments, right? So here I also have the layers of the different poses. Basically this is hand drawing animation, right? We have 14 frames. And for the third component, which is also a folder, that is the background layer. So the background, I also have a shadow layer, right? And a mask, and then this is the background. All right, so putting together we have 3 layers. Okay, and this is the format I'm going to use for, if I'm going to use a Premiere or After Effects, I'm going to use this format. However, one thing you need to know is here, as you can see in iMovie, you could only put 2 layers. See if I play, and here's our character, here's our background. Basically, you could only put 2 layers. If I want to put 3 layers, for example, if I want to drop in the background, and if I want the background to be on the top, for example, if this is the foreground, and see, I can't do that. If I place it here, you're going to erase the character layer. So in iMovie, it could only support 2 layers, the maximum. Okay, so you need to really think about what is the foreground, what is the background. So in this scenario, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to GIMP, and I'm going to place my layer in a different way. So basically, I'm going to bring the character folder to the top. Here is it. And for the foreground and the background, I would put them together as the background. So this whole thing I'm going to use as background, and the character I'm going to put it here. So however, I want to let the character to be behind on this countertop. Okay, so what I can do is I can just right click on this folder, this foreground folder, right click on that, and go to alpha to selection. So basically it'll make a selection based on the content inside of this folder. Okay, if you want to go to specific layer, definitely you can go to specific layer, right click and alpha to selection, and you're going to select make a selection based on the content of that layer. Okay, so I'm going to make a selection and then select this whole folder, which is our characters folder. Okay, and then I'm going to go to top menu, select, and invert selection, because I want to invert the selection and select everything outside of this countertop. Okay, now you can see that you select this area, and then I can right click on it and then go to add a layer mask. Let me shrink this window so you can see it better. So right click and then add a layer mask, right? And in the options, you want to check on selection. So this is going to create a mask based on your selected area. So this is our selected area, right? So you'll click on add. Now if I go to the individual layers, all of them are inside of this mask and it will not spread out to here. So then what you'll do is you're going to see here, you're going to hide this whole folder and make sure you show the previous foreground and background, and then you're going to go to the top menu, file, and export as. And here for file type, we're going to choose JPEG. Okay, so like a JPEG, and then you can put a name here. So let's see, I'll say BJ2, and then export. And then in the setting here, you can choose the quality. I'm going to keep as 100 the maximum, and click on export. So you're going to export the background image for our project. And here, let me switch back to the smaller size. All right, and then I can just show the character layer. As you can see, the background is transparent. And then you'll just show each of the layer here in the folder. And then again, you'll go to export as, and you're going to go to the C file type, and you're going to choose a PNG image, and you're going to save it as a sequence. So here I'll say in frame 001. So make sure you save each frame in this format, you know, the file name, and then followed by 00 and then 1, and the second frame to be 2 and third frame to be 3. So save the image in the sequence. All right, so once you saved all of them, we can move on to iMovie. By default, you should see, let me see, if you don't have any of these, what you're going to do is you're going to right click here, so create a new event. So this should be what you're going to see by default, right? Nothing is here, and I'll delete the whole thing here as well. Okay, so here for import media, you can just go to the folder where you exported all of those images. See here, this is background image, and here are all of the frames I exported. And then select all of them and drag it in here, and then right click and make sure you sort clip by name. So it'll go from frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And another thing is go to top menu, iMovie, and preferences. And here for photo placement, choose crop to fit. Okay, so this is going to crop your video's dimension based on your photo's dimension. So basically for the drawing, we choose 1920 to 1080, right? So this video, the dimension will be the same. All right, and then here you can see that this is the video area and this is the audio area. Okay, so we'll play with the video area first. So we're going to drop in our background, and as you can see by default here it shows the time of our background. So by default, basically when we drop a image in, the runtime is 4 seconds. So let's see, if you want to create a 5 seconds animation, you're going to select this image and click on this info button, and then you can change the duration to 5.0, so that's 5 seconds. Okay, if you want to do 4 seconds and a half, you just put 4.5. Okay, so here I'm going to put 4 seconds, and then I'm going to drop in the frames, okay, of our character. So I'll bring in the first frame. So I bring it here. By default, it is 4 seconds. So I can select it and go to this info button and put 0.1. So for each frame, I'm going to use 0.1 second, right? So here's the time. And you don't have to do it for all of these frames, drag it in and change the time. What you can do is, see, move on to the second frame. I can just bring it in and make sure you connect it to your last frame. And then this is the length, right? You know the width. and then you can just drag and bring it to here, and then you know this is 1.1 second, right? And as you can see, for the frames you use it here, it marked in orangish color, and then I can just drop in the third frame, place it here, drop in the fourth frame, and cut it to here, and then next frame and cut it here, right? Alright, and then I'll click on here, the beginning part of this whole scene, and then I'm going to click on play. So this is how it looks. Alright, and then now let's change the timing. So here, as you can see, for the whole thing, I give 0.1 second for each frame. But I want the first frame, this is the first pose, I want her to stay for about 4 frames or 5 frames, right? So stay this pose for a few frames. And then when she goes to, let's see, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So at 8th frame, after she turned, I want she to keep this pose for about 4 frames before she take out the glasses, right? So the 8th frame, I also want to extend it for 4 frames. And then after she took out the glasses, I want to extend that frame to the end of this clip. Okay, so now let's see how we can do it. So let's work on the first frame. So I don't want you to do it like this. So if you just extend it directly, see here, you're going to remove the second frame. So hit Command Z to go back. And what I'll do is I'll select all the frames after the second frame. Okay, and then bring it to any spot here. And then I can just extend it in this way, and here you can see the timeline. And I'll give it 4 frames. Okay, 0.4 seconds. And then I can drop in the second, 3, this 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this is the 8 frames. So I'm going to bring this thing to here. Okay, connect it to the first frame. And then for the 8th frame, I'm going to extend it to about 4 frames, or maybe 5. Okay, just give it a little bit more time. And then bring these frames, okay, back to here. And then the last frame, I'm going to extend it to the end. So you can put it here, align it with your background. Alright, so now if I go back to the beginning, and then I hit play. So this is how it looks. Alright, so the timing is much better. So in the beginning, she holds the pose. And then after she turns, she holds the pose and then tear out the glasses. And then once you're done with the editing, you'll go to Terminal File and Share and File. And here you can change the setting. However, resolution I'll just keep at default, which is 1080p. Here I'll just choose quality as high and compress as faster, and click on next. And you can decide a location you want to export, and then change the file name and click on save. Okay, and also here, as you can see, you get a soundtrack. So if you have dialogue, voiceover, or music, you can place it here as well. Alright, now we're going to move on to Microsoft Photos. Microsoft Photos was the Windows Movie Maker in Windows 7. And it is the newer version of it. However, it is not as powerful as the Movie Maker. It doesn't do a very good job on video editing. So let's move on to Photos. So here's the interface. And as you open the program, first you have to click on the video editor. And then you'll be able to create a new video project. So click on here, and then you can name your project. So here I'll put a frame-by-frame animation and click on OK. And then here in the project library, you can click on Add, and you can load files from this PC, or you can just drag in your folder and select all of the images and drag the images in here in the project. And to bring your image to create a video is very simple. You just have to drag the image and drop it down to the storyboard section. By default, it's 3 seconds, and you can click on duration and change it to time. Okay, and I'll change it back to 4 seconds. So basically that is the whole runtime of this animation. And then you can drop in our drawings, the frame, the character drawings. And you can see that I cannot layer in the drawings. I cannot put the character drawing on top of the background drawing, right? I could only put it side by side. And then by put them side by side, and if I hit play, as you can see, you will play the image in a sequence. Here, as you can see, that Microsoft Photos only provides you one layer to edit the videos or photos, right? So that's to say, if you want to create an animation, a frame-by-frame animation in Microsoft Photos, before you export your drawing in Photoshop or in GIMP, what you're going to do is you're going to duplicate your background and foreground drawing and merge, each drawing to the background and foreground drawing. So we're going to create this image sequence. Each image will have the character and the background and foreground. So you're going to merge all of them together into one image and then create this image sequence and export them and go back to Microsoft Photos, and then you can start to edit. All right, now we'll bring all of the images into Microsoft Photos. You can change the runtime of each frame. For example, the first frame, I want it to be 0.4 seconds, which takes a 4 frames length, right? And then for the rest of few frames, I'm going to use 0.1 as a runtime for each of the frame. So I'm going to drop all of them in and change the runtime, right? And then for the 8th frame, as we talked about that earlier, and I'm going to use about 4 frames or 5 frames runtime for it. So I'm going to change it here, the runtime to 0.5. And then for the rest of few frames, I'm going to change the runtime to 0.1 second for each frame. And then the next frame, I'm going to keep it for 3 seconds. And then if you hit the play button, this is the whole thing and it looks fluent. So we'll have the same result as the animation we have created in After Effects or in iMovie. And when you're done, you can go to the right top corner and finish video. So this can export your video. So you can choose the HD 1080 as the quality and then click on export. Export in location and then confirm export. And it will just take a few seconds to export this animation, and here we go.